So my name is Farzin Azinani, and I call myself a limit buster. Why? Because we all have those kind of inner limits. And what if we can bust those limits and go and beyond and above those? Then we can expand to a situation or a state that is beyond everything that we can imagine. And we all have access to that kind of expansion, which is within ourselves. It is not outside. I'm just giving you a clue, which is it's not outside, it is inside.
Welcome back to another episode of the Online Prosperity Show, the show where heart, hustle, and humanity meet the wisdom of our incredible guests. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we have a story that will grab you right from the start. I want you to imagine being 12 years old. Instead of maybe chasing cartoons and candy, you're actually chasing the meaning of life. Now, that is what our guest Farzin had to encounter. Now, Farzin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Prosper, and I want to thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. I can only start to imagine what it was like for you to actually know what you wanted at the ripe age of 12, where some of us are busy looking at cartoons. And, I think in my world then it was wrestling. I was a big fan of wrestling, but you'd already started, on your quest to life. Now, for those that are meeting Farzin for the very first time, he went on a journey to search for meaning, which came in the form of thousands of books, exploring countless philosophies, and he found himself in the most unexpected place. He's going to be telling us about the time at 24 where he was in a pitch black room with no light, no sound, and one mission. I can't wait to jump into that. And obviously, for so many of us, we're always seeking or looking for the truth. But Farzin's journey didn't just end with enlightenment. It actually led him to heal chronic pain, overcome emotional blocks, and pioneer a groundbreaking approach to well-being called the Joyfulfix Quantum Healing. I also can't wait to jump into that, and I know by the end of this conversation you'll see why Farzin's clients call him the life changer, a heart opener, and even a miracle worker. So stick around, because you're about to see your potential in a whole new light. Now, Farzin, I could go on and on talking about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. You started on your journey at the ultimate age of 12. Most people can't even write their names by then. What were you looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I go back to those times that I had at age 12, I had some questions. What was those questions? Questions like, what is the source of joy? I was missing my childhood. Why? Because when you go to school, things start to shift in your life. At least it was that way for me. Before I go to school, I was a happy child going to the playground, playing with other kids, going on the slide and the slings and crying and playing. And so you go to school at age 6 or so, 7. What happens is that you're separated from your caregivers, your parents, and you have to stay straight. And you have to listen to the teacher and do the homeworks. And you go to the yard, you get pushed by other kids. So your perspective starts to change from a friendly universe to a hostile universe. Before that, you thought that everything is within the reach and you are friend with everybody. But after, you are always on your toes. You have to protect yourself. You can get harm from other people. So you are more watchful. Your guard is up. So at age 12, I was tired of that feeling. I was missing my childhood. So the other thing is that I wanted to know what is the reason for my being in here. You know, at that age, most kids don't even care about those things. But somehow it got stuck in my mind. I just wanted to know, why am I here? What I'm doing in here? What is the purpose of me being in here? So I started my quest to find the answer to those questions. I couldn't get the answer from my parents. They didn't have any clue, and no teacher could help me. No friend could help me. So I had to rely on books. Why books? Because there was no internet at the time. So it was long ago. So I had to go and find books and go through different philosophies and paths to find the answer to those questions. So in a period of 12 years, I was collecting and reading books. So I had more than 1,000 books in my personal library. And I went through a lot of paths and philosophies. But guess what? I was even more confused than the starting point. Because when you don't know, you don't know. When you start knowing, you understand that there are a lot that you still don't know. So it's a Pandora box. So I was so frustrated. I wanted to know the answer badly. So I made a radical decision at age 24. What I did was I said that I couldn't find the answer through those exercises, those practices, those philosophies, those books. What can I do? Maybe I have to do something else. So I went to my uncle and I said, you have a room in the basement, which is an ideal scenario for me. So I'm going to go occupy that room. There was no windows. It was in the basement and there was a washroom inside. So I said that I have access to washroom and water inside. So I'm going to go there and stay there for whatever it takes. And my uncle said that, are you crazy? I said, yes, I'm crazy and frustrated, both the combination of craziness and frustration. And he said that I noticed that you are stupid as well. I said, why? He said that you're going to go inside and die from hunger and not reaching your goal. I said, yeah, he's right. So I went to the market and I bought 5 kilos of raisin. I said, maybe that can keep me going. So I went inside, closed the door, turned the light off, and I'm sitting in the darkness. You know, when you are in a scenario like that, after a while, you don't know what's happening on the outside world. There's absolute silence and absolute darkness. You don't know if it's day or night or whatever. And you are facing yourself, all the emotions, all the thoughts. You're facing yourself directly. You cannot escape from yourself. So some people say that is the harshest type of torture. Why? When somebody commits a crime, they send that person to a jail. When they do something wrong in the jail, they send them to solitary confinement. So that is the torture. But I was going through that type of torture voluntarily because I just wanted to find the answer to those questions. So what happened was I knew a lot of techniques and practices and ways and meditations and chants and whatever you name it through whatever I studied. But none of them was working. I tried them. I couldn't get the results that I wanted. So after a while, you just give up. And that happened to me. I gave up. I was sitting there in the darkness. And in one moment, something substantial happened that changed my life. So what was that? It started with a feeling of warmness in my heart. I felt that my heart is getting warmer and warmer, and that heat started to spread all over my body. I felt that my cells are burning from inside. And on the outside, I was sweating and shaking. And all of a sudden, something happened. What was that? So it is hard to describe, but maybe I can describe it with a metaphor. So you have a piece of ice cube in your hand, and you go by the ocean, and you just drop that ice cube into the ocean. That ice cube is floating on top of the water, and then it starts to melt, gets smaller, smaller, and smaller. When the last piece disappears, there is no ice cube anymore. It's just water. That was my feeling. I started to melt and melt and melt from inside. And all of a sudden, I was one with everything and everyone. It's hard to describe, but there was no separation. And in that moment, I found the answer to all of my questions, not some of them, all of my questions. So I didn't need to stay in that room anymore. So I got out of the room, closed the door, got out with some realizations. So when I came out of the room, I noticed that it was close to 5 days that I was staying there. Because you don't know when you're inside, you don't know if it's day or night or something. I came out, and it was close to 5 days. But what was those realizations? I'm just going to describe a couple of them. The first one was I found that there is a difference between joy and happiness. What is the difference? Happiness requires outer circumstances. Somebody or something is going to make you happy. Or sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. You're switching between happiness and sadness. But joy is different. Joy doesn't have the opposite. And joy doesn't need outer circumstances. We have the feeling of joy in our heart if we be able to get access to it. So joy is the source of the happiness, the main source of the happiness. So it's different from the happiness. The second realization was that there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. So knowledge is the gathering of information in the books, in different paths, in somebody's speech or something like that. But wisdom is different. Why? Because wisdom is the source of knowledge. So I realized that I was looking for the knowledge through the books, but I had to get access to the wisdom. Wisdom is just a container that contains everything in it. So when you get access to it, all your answers, all your questions are answered. So it was like that farmer in Africa who was looking for diamond because the neighbors said that you're wasting your time in here with this farm. Let's go and find diamond. So he sold his farm. He went all over the world to find diamond. After a few years, he passed away. But the farmer who bought the farm was digging one day and he found a piece of stone. He started to just polish the stone. It was shiny, so he took it to the jeweler and they found one of the largest diamond mines in Africa. In the exact same farm the first farmer sold to go and find the diamond. So that is our story. We go outside, we want to find things from here and there, get ideas, but we are carrying it in our heart. It is not far away. It is just inside. We just have to dig in and take it out. And all of us are one idea away from being a millionaire or billionaire. Why? Because imagine somebody has a extra room in their house and they decide to just rent out the room, and they say that we're able to make money with this room, and then we're going to build a system so other people can do the same thing as well. So they build something like Airbnb. It's just an idea, but it is spread the whole world like a wildfire. So just an idea came out and it became a big business. We all have access to those ideas which are inside. And I was wondering why it is not easy and straightforward to get access to the source of joy and source of wisdom which is within our heart. And so that is something that I had to explore and follow in my life as a mission. So, and the other thing I figured out was there's a difference between pain and misery. What is the difference? Sometimes we have a pain in our body or somewhere, and sometimes we have something called prefrontal cortex. That is the differentiation point between us and animals. We analyze everything, mentalize everything, and we do a lot of great things with that, and some not very great things with that as well. Why? Because we are maybe the only species who gets punished hundreds of times for a mistake that they make. Who punishes us? Ourselves. So we have made a mistake long ago, and then we think about it. We go through shame and guilt several times thinking about that mistake that we committed long ago. So we punish ourselves with that prefrontal cortex operation. We do that. So that is misery. We don't need to go through that misery. So pain is different than misery. So, and then I knew that pain is part of growing, like a snake which is growing, and after a while, the skin doesn't fit, so it has to shed the skin. So, same thing happens to us. As we are growing, and we go through some painful moments because we are expanding. So we have to get rid of that old baggage. And sometimes it comes with pain. So it is the sign for growth. So I knew those kind of concepts. How? I just received that information. That's part of the wisdom which is coming from inside. So that was my first breakthrough
Absolutely.
at age 24. And then what happened was it wasn't the only breakthrough that I had. So I still had to go through life with all those ups and downs and
Absolutely.
expand
Now
more and more.
let's yeah, let's just explore that a little bit because that was a lot, and thank you so much for sharing that with me. Now you did mention, getting to age 12, and obviously school had robbed you off of your childhood, or whatever was happening in that sort of scenario had robbed you off of your childhood. Now, Fazine, is this a common occurrence, or is it just because you had that quest that you then went on? Does this happen to everyone, or is this something common that people feel robbed after having gone through the educational system?
Yeah, it is very common. Some people might feel it stronger. Some people are a little bit numb. They don't feel it that much. But the
Mm.
fact is that we all go through that moment that separates us from others. If you go to a playground, you see that kids are happily enjoying their time in here and playing around with each other, and they are happy. But we don't see that on adults. So we are fighting with each other. We are separated from each other. We are separating ourselves with each other with those layers. What are those layers? Let me elaborate on that a little bit. One of the layers is on physical body. Some people think they are just their physical body. And then what happens if I cut my hand and put it in front of me? Am I going to be a different person? No, I'm not going to be a different person. I'm still me. So I'm not my physical body. And you know what? A lot of people in the world fighting over those kind of things. They say, I'm black, I'm white, I'm yellow, and I'm this, and my race is this, and they are proud of whatever they are, and they fight with other people over those things. And so they don't realize that we are not our physical body. So there's no reason to fight over those. It's just a layer that we have, just like a layer of clothing. So some people think that they are their emotions. They say, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm mad, whatever. But we cannot associate ourselves with our emotions. Why? What happens if I change my emotion? Am I going to be a different person? No, I'm the same person experiencing different emotions. So it doesn't matter if I'm happy or sad. I'm not going to be two different people. I'm just me having those emotions. So I cannot associate myself. I can say that I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling happy or whatever, but I'm not my emotion. So the other thing, some people think that they are whoever, whatever they think. So, and with that notion, if I don't think about anything, do I exist or not? I'm still existing. If I sit down and clean my mind, I'm still here. So I'm not my thoughts. So I fight with other people because they have different opinion with me. I fight with other people because they behave different than me based on their emotions. I fight with other people because they look different than me. But I'm not realizing that I'm not my physical body. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my thoughts. I'm something beyond all those. Those are just the layers. Those are just the pieces of clothing that I'm wearing. So that is the important thing to know. So we get separated as we grow up based on the beliefs and the things that society impose on us. Parents impose on us, the schools, and everything. We have those mindsets, thoughts, beliefs, and it is the separating point between us and others.
Mm.
So everybody experiences that. It is not something that we don't experience. But when you realize that we are in the trap, then we can come out of it. But if we don't realize it, we continue fighting over nothing, fighting over things that are not important.
Absolutely. No, no, Farzin, you did mention that the adults around you, especially in that sort of 12-year period. Sorry, I'm just really fixated at that time because I've got kids myself, and I'm just thinking during that time, the only big questions my kids ask me is, what's for dinner, and I'm there to tell them, the different options that are there, and they go off and play with their computers and things of that nature. But the adults around you obviously did not have the answers that you were seeking, and you took to books and things of that nature. Were they encouraging you at least on your quest, or were they asking you to focus on things that they know themselves, they you should focus on?
Fortunately, I had supporting parents. So they were supporting me in that journey, but they couldn't understand why I am switching from this practice to that practice. One time I just counted 20 different paths and philosophies and practices I went through in that period of 12 years. So I was switching back and forth to different things, you know, because I was frustrated. So they couldn't understand what I was doing, and nobody could understand, and even myself. But that I had that urge. I had to go and find the truth, not the shadow of the truth. Because a lot of times you go and explore something, and after a while you notice it is not the ultimate truth. It is the shadow of the truth. So the truth is inside, and I was looking for it on the outside world, just like many other people. But that was that was the reason that I went into that room and came out with those realizations.
Mm. Now, in that dark room, you found inner light. And
Yep.
obviously, this is something that you put yourself to, you know, put yourself so that you could actually realize that. Now, once you discovered this inner light and found out, the metaphor that you mentioned, that you started feeling warm inside, and it was synonymous to an ice cube that is just dissolving into the ocean and just getting into the form of water, and you realize that you were one. You continued to keep searching for new ways to heal and find the truth. Wasn't that enough for you, having stayed for 5 days in that particular room?
So we are always expanding. There's no stop to it. There's something called plus factor. Plus factor says that there is always another step, because the whole universe is expanding and we are part of that whole universe. So as we expand, we learn new things and we expand our consciousness, and our capacity gets larger and larger. So what was happening, I started to develop a friendly perspective towards the universe again after my isolation. So I knew that everything is happening for a reason. And so a couple of years after that, I had another breakthrough. So it started with an accident. I was lifting something at work and my back went to the freeze zone. I couldn't move. So I lost my job. I couldn't continue that job anymore. And so I went to therapy and specialists, and they said that you have to go through some physiotherapy to get better. There is nothing broken in there. They took the MRI and X-ray and everything. Everything was fine, but I had that kind of pain, so they sent me to therapy for a while. I was better, so I found another job. But the problem was that back pain stayed with me for 15 years. How? Almost every week, I would go to the freeze mode again, and I couldn't move my head to the sides. My neck and shoulder would freeze. So I had to go to therapy almost every week for 15 years. You can imagine how much time and money I spent on that. So what happened was I was frustrated, and a friend of mine came and she said that maybe I can help you. I said, how? You're not a specialist. I went to the top specialists in the country and they said that they couldn't point to a specific muscle or something like that that is injured. So they cannot help me. They gave me a lot of medications. It couldn't help. How can you help me? She said that you're frustrated, right? I said, yes. She said, at least let's try this to see what happens. So she gave me a couple of phone calls. And during those phone calls, she released the trapped emotions that I had in my body. And she explained that sometimes you have an experience with an emotion, and then you cannot process that emotion completely. So it is unprocessed emotion. And your subconscious mind keeps that emotion somewhere in your body. And it starts affecting the tissues, organs, or whatever that is trapped. So, and she said everybody is more than 200 or 300 of those trapped emotions. And it is actually the reason that we are behaving the way that we are behaving. So imagine that I'm driving home from work and I'm tired and somebody cut me off in the traffic and I get mad and start swearing and so I go home and I start talking to my wife about the mad drivers on the road and stuff. So that anger, the energy of anger, becomes an unprocessed emotion. Why? Because I'm using my prefrontal cortex to analyze and mentalize everything. So it becomes unprocessed emotion, trapped emotion. And it starts affecting my every different things. So I'm carrying that emotion of anger, let's say. So whatever that I'm experiencing in life might trigger that. I get mad for no reason, for small things, because I'm carrying that vibration. And it is, let's say it is trapped in my kidney. It starts affecting the kidney as well, because it has lower emotion than our average emotion that we have in our body. So those are just the things that we are carrying, more than 200 of those trapped emotions. So she released a bunch of trapped emotions that was caused by the accident that I had, and I became better and the pain gone. And a week after, I was waiting for the pain to come back because that was the norm for me, but it never came back. And I was amazed by that process. Over the phone, she released those trapped emotions and did something that no specialist in the world could do for me. And that was it. And I have an engineering background. So analyze everything and mentalize everything. So I couldn't grasp what's happening. Well, she said that you have the talent to do the same thing for others. So that's why I started going to the training under Dr. Bradley Nelson, and I became an emotion code practitioner. And during that process, she did something for that person who helped me to get rid of that pain, 15 years of pain actually. She did something else too. On the couple of sessions after, she released my heart wall. So what is heart wall? Our heart is very important. As you might remember, I was talking about our heart is the source of joy and the source of wisdom. So if we get access to the source of joy and wisdom, everything comes into place. So she said that you have a heart wall, let's remove that. So, and she explained that sometimes we want to protect our heart because our heart is very sensitive and we get heartbroken. And it is literal, it is real. A scientist in Japan discovered that there are lines on our heart. So he was a physician. So he noticed that under the X-ray or something that the imaging, medical imaging that he could get access to, he noticed that there are lines on our heart and it's different for every person to the other person. And he noticed that those lines are like the lines that we get on our bone when we have a cracked bone. So that was the mark of a broken heart. So that broken heart is real. So what causes that? Maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's a loss of a loved one, or maybe we are under pressure emotionally from someone or something like that. We go through life with those scratches and wounds. So traumas that we experience is causing that. And heart is very important. Why? Because for every message that goes from brain to the heart, based on HeartMath Institute research, 9 messages go from heart to the brain. And the electromagnetic wave field that is around our heart is several times larger than the electromagnetic wave that is around our brain. So heart is very important. Heart is
Mm.
center of our body, our existence. So we protect our heart. How? We cannot do much when we are under pressure, but our subconscious mind do something. It builds a shelter around our heart. It's like a bomb shelter. Imagine that the country is under attack. You go to the shelter to protect yourself from bombs, the bombing. So you go to shelter, you lose contact with outside world, and 10 years has passed from the war, and you're still living in that bomb shelter. The
Mm.
same thing happens for us. We go through the trauma. Our subconscious mind builds that shelter around the heart to protect us, and we live in that shelter forever. It separates us from each other. It
Absolutely.
gets, yeah,
Now,
it gets,
Fazin, you mentioned
sure.
that. Thank you. You mentioned that, when you start going to school, you're exposed to the real world, you start meeting all these people, and I'm supposing that's where the heart wall starts being very concrete. But I have to ask, how do you actually dismantle a heart wall? Is it like therapy, meditation, or is it something completely different, or do you have to go in a dark room for 5 days?
No, you don't need to go to a dark room for 5 days. So when I became an emotion code practitioner, I started dismantling heart wall for other people because that is part of my practice. So it is you just connect with the subconscious mind and find out what emotions are trapped around your heart in that heart wall, and you start releasing those one by one. And after a couple of sessions, the person doesn't have the heart wall anymore. It's like being born again. It's like going out of the prison and having the freedom to do whatever you want. And the feeling is substantial change, miraculous change in people I see when I remove their heart wall. The same thing happened for me. Before, when I had my heart wall, I couldn't connect with people properly. I would go to a party. I couldn't I couldn't talk to anybody and communicate with other people. But after, I would be standing in front of 500 people and giving talks and with no problem. So it it was substantial change for me and for everybody that I do the heart work. And more than 93% of the world population have the heart work. That is because we all go through those traumas. We all go through those ups and downs. So it's very important for us.
Mm.
It
Absolutely.
affects our health, wealth, relationship, and happiness. All 4 of those. And those are important, those 4 aspects. I was thinking about those 4 aspects of health, wealth, relationship, and happiness. So that is the effect. That is not the cause of our problems. That is the effect. So it is like a screen that we can see. So some people have problem in wealth, or some people have relationship problems, or we are all different. Those 4 aspects are like the 4 tires of a car. If one tire is flat, how far we can drive with that car? Not far.
Mm.
So those four aspects are important. So we have to know how we are doing. That's why I created a quiz for people so they can find how they are doing. So I call that quiz uh, life quality score, life quality assessment. So it gives them a score. It has 20 questions, 5 questions for each section, and then it gives them the mark, how they are doing on those four different aspects: health, wealth, relationship, and happiness. And why is it important? Because let's say I have problems, low score in relationship, but I have higher score in wealth. So what happens is that I can use those information. It means that I can build a business based on the things that I have for wealth. I can help other people because I'm doing good in that aspect. I can build a business around it. But I have to pay attention to that relationship problem because it's dragging me back. And
It's like having
sometimes,
a table, right? And if
yeah,
one leg is wobbly, then obviously it's not going to be a stable table that you will
exactly.
receive there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's important to know what your score is, life quality score is. So I created
Mm.
that quiz. I put it in my website. The website is joyfulfix.com. And if you go to the contact page of my website, there is a link to the quiz. And everybody can just go and take the quiz to just explore what is their priority in life.
Mm.
So, but the thing is that after going through all those things, I was still expanding. It wasn't the end of it because we are always expanding. Remember, the whole universe is expanding. So I was helping a lot of people, but I felt that I'm solving a lot of problems for them. Some of them had cancers. I helped them to just recover from cancer. Some of them had uh, chronic pain or something like that. I helped them to just get rid of those chronic pain. Some of them had relationship problems. I was solving the problems for people, but I felt that they have to change their mindset as well. Because whatever we experience in life is just a screen. Life is a screen. The projector is inside. The projector is playing a movie. We don't like the movie, and usually we go and fight with the screen. It doesn't make any change. We have to change something on the inside. We
Mm.
have to change the movie. Then we see a different movie playing on the screen. So
Absolutely.
that is why I decided to just go and create something to be able to help more, not just removing those problems, just allowing them to go through the transformation. So that is something much more valuable.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. I will definitely put those links in the show notes so that people can go and take that assessment and see how it is that it actually works. Now, I was actually looking at your testimonials there, Fazin, and people hear about personal transformation and think it takes years of therapy and sort of a lot of hours of self-reflection and things of that nature. But I've seen in your testimonials, people talk about change happening instantly and quickly. How do you create such rapid transformation in your clients?
So it is the change of perspective. I give you an example. When I ask people, what is the definition of success? People say that when I reach my goal, I feel successful. So I tell them with that definition, you're going to be feeling miserable most of your life, because how many times you are standing on top of the podium in your life? But let's change that definition. If I say success means moving towards a worthy goal, then as long as they are moving towards that goal, they feel successful. So they can feel successful most of their lives. You see the difference? We change the definition, we change the whole thing. Change your definition, change your life. So another thing, when we look at the things that we are facing, we see that as problems, because we are focusing on the negative side of it. But if we label it as challenge, challenge means something that we go through and we like to go through, like the video game or something like that. It's a challenge. We go through it, and then we are willingly go through it, and we enjoy the process. So we just label from problems to challenge, and it solves a lot of things. And sometimes we have something called failure. But if we label it as feedback, what happens? A kid is trying to learn to stand up and walk. How many times the kid falls down? Several times, hundreds of times. Does he call it failure? No. It is just he's learning. It's a feedback system. So we are learning from those things. So instead of failure, we call it feedback. So change your definition, change your life. Sometimes just a different perspective can make you move forward in life. You know, in my book, I have 3 types of stagnation. The first one is called static stagnation. The second one is dynamic stagnation. And the third one is inner stagnation. They all have those kind of things. So static stagnation is when I'm facing some barriers in my life. I don't want to face those, so I feel that they are larger than me. So I stay in bed for a long time. So it is called static stagnation. Dynamic stagnation is when I have a job, I go to work and come back home, go to work and come back home, do the things that I do at work, do the things that I do at home. And then I look back, several years has passed, no excitement, no impact, nothing. I just wasted my life. I call that dynamic stagnation. And sometimes we feel that I just want to get out of that dynamic stagnation, that routine that I'm creating in my comfort zone. So we go out and start doing something. But the problem is that we are facing with the barriers that we have in our subconscious mind. And then we are building a business. We are spending a lot of time to build a business. We are stealing the time from the time that we can spend with our loved ones. And we go through a lot of stress and anxiety. So we might build that business, but we are not healthy because we went through those anxious moments. And it's taking a toll on our body. And we lose some of our relationships. And everybody says that when you go on top, you're going to be feeling happy. But we go standing on top, we feel empty. So we feel betrayed by life. That is the midlife crisis. So what happens is that I call that inner stagnation. I explained it in details in my book. So inner stagnation is like that. Because we feel that in order to get out of our comfort zone, we have to go through the path of hustle and grind. But there are ways we can bring our subconscious mind on board, and then we go through those expansion with joy and ease. And it's all in my book. All the details and everything is in my book.
Absolutely. Now, Fazin, I mean, your story, your life story, and your experience are very unique, and the beginnings and what it is that you did in order for you to come to the realization of you are one with the universe. It's filled with unexpected twists. Obviously, you locking yourself in a dark room and healing 15 years of chronic pain, and then discovering that hot wall. But I want to know, what is the biggest, maybe invisible lesson from your journey that most people miss? Because sometimes somebody would say, I wasn't that clever or I wasn't that enlightened at 12, and then they dismiss what you went through. Or they would say at 24, I was busy paying bills and living life. I wouldn't have found 5 days to lock myself in a room. But you did that in order for people to then experience what you're now sharing. What is there something like a string of a lesson that somebody could just say, you know what? This is exactly what my life can, and showcase to others who want to be, do, and have that happier existence that you're talking about.
Sure. So I can summarize it in this. Every one of us in every moment of our life are facing a decision to take the right road or the left road. The left road is the road of fear, and that is separating us from each other. The right road is the road of love that is connecting us to each other. So we can choose. The automatic choice is left. The automatic choice is the way that we are separating ourselves from each other. We are judging other people. We are judging ourselves. We are criticizing ourselves. We don't know what the meaning of self-love and self-understanding is. That is the automatic choice. But a lot of people don't realize that there is another choice. They don't even see that choice. And that choice is acceptance. It's love. It's compassion towards ourselves. Because it starts with ourselves. When we know that we are not those layers of physical, emotional, mental, we realize that all the problems that we have is coming from one of those layers. All the problems that we have is either physical, emotional, or mental, whatever it is. So we can separate ourselves from those layers. Those layers in combination, they create the ego. And we are beyond that. We are a consciousness. Everybody is talking about artificial intelligence, but there is something beyond artificial intelligence. Can you guess what that is?
It's our own human intelligence, our own knowledge of self, I think.
Yes, that the wisdom that we are carrying, that source of wisdom which is in our heart, that is much larger than artificial intelligence. It's
Mm,
ultimate intelligence. It's not artificial. So we can
def-
go beyond that. So we have the capacity. We have the capacity. We just have to realize it. And if we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, there is help available. And I just expand my arm to people who need that kind of support and help, because we are here to help each other. That is the path of love. We all
Absolutely.
are connected to each other.
Absolutely. Like the ice cube that connects with the ocean and it becomes one with the vast body of water. Now,
Yeah.
Fazin, I know there's a lot to uncover with this, and obviously there's so much that we can go into, but I just wanted to bring this full circle. When we first started talking, you introduced me to 12-year-old Fazin, who was looking around him and the people around him were not able to help him. Let's just say for some weird reason, 12-year-old Fazin came across this video and is seeking for those answers that he was seeking at that particular time. What sort of advice would you give to him, knowing what you now know about the quest that you went on and the truth that you've discovered?
So my advice would be you don't need to ask for joy and happiness and truth because you are joy and happiness and truth. You might not see it right now. You might feel separate, but you are that. Whatever you are looking for, you are that. So some people say that I want to experience love, for example, or whatever. And I say, when you want to experience something, it means that it is something outside of you. And imagine that I'm standing outside and sun is shining and I'm enjoying the sun rays on my face. And all of a sudden clouds come and it's overcast and I don't see the sun anymore. And then I feel disappointed. What that is so that is when I'm separated from that source of heat. But what if I am the sun? It doesn't matter if it's overcast or day or night or whatever. What if I am the sun? We
Mm.
all are things that we are looking for. It's all
That
inside.
that which we seek is already inside of us. Now, Fazin, I mean, obviously, there's so much. Like I've said, you've introduced us to this whole world. The heart wall and things of that nature. What's next? What can people anticipate? In your journey, and after they've connected with you, what can they enjoy?
So nowadays, I help a lot of people to come out of their shell and build a business, actually, based on the strong points that they have and even based on the weak points. Because when you recover from the weakness that you have, based on your experience, you can help a lot of people. So they can build their business and they can offer that business to other people. And then for people who have business, I can help them to expand that business. Why? Because a lot of it is beliefs and mentals, things that we experience, and limiting beliefs. When we release those limiting beliefs, which is I'm specialized in, when we release those inner blocks, then what happens is that the sky is the limit. We can expand ourselves. Our business grows. And there are ways I help people. I partner with some other people to just take care of the other aspects of the businesses, like the strategies and so on. But I take care of those limitations and they can thrive. They can go beyond whatever they can imagine because we
Mm,
are all here to expand. And it reflects in other aspects of our life: health, wealth, relationship, and happiness. But nowadays, I'm just focusing to help people to get out of the shell. If they are stuck in a job or something like that, they don't need to stay there. They can um, start with a side thing that they enjoy, and then they can build a business out of it. I can help them, and
absolutely.
they can do a lot of things. They can expand it, and they can enjoy life the way that they deserve. We don't come here to waste our life as a routine. We come
Absolutely.
here to be impactful for ourselves and for others. So we are all have that capacity. We just have to explore it and expand it.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching, I mean, you can tell Fazin's early obsession with truth seeking as a child now mirrors what he does for his clients right now, helping them see the invisible truth within themselves. And as you have followed through as a child, he was looking for the meaning of life. And now, as an adult, he's helping people unlock that meaning in their own lives by dismantling emotional blocks. This is a full circle story, all in all. And I can't thank you enough, Fazin, for the time that you've spent with me on the call today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was a real pleasure on my side.
Absolutely. Wow. If you made it this far, I want you to give yourself a round of applause because I think what you've just experienced as a masterclass in transformation. I mean, from darkness to inner light, and then from pain to purpose, and from frustration to fulfillment. That's the journey, that our guest Fazin has been on, and the journey we can all relate to. But then here's the thing, I mean, it doesn't have to take you years of searching, or 15 years of pain for you to be able to experience your own breakthrough. As you have learned today, healing and growth can actually happen faster than you think. And there's people like Fazin that are able to help you be, do, and have a happier existence. And I think this is something that each and every one of us needs to actually experience. So I'm going to be putting all those links in the show notes so that you too can actually start your journey. And it's never too late. I mean, you could start right where you are. And yeah, definitely it is something that each and every one of us can do. Until next time, keep chasing prosperity, and as Fazan would say, find your light and let it shine. Bye for now.